Hello, everyone. Um, yeah, it's amazing to see you all out here. The do-gooders, change makers, positively impacting the lives of so many people. We are happy to present Glific again and talk about the various aspects of using WhatsApp-based two-way communication platform with your community. And we really wanted to empower your work to a great extent. Let me quickly share my screen and get started. Okay. All right, let's begin. Can you all see my screen?
Yeah.
Cool. So today we'll be covering how Glyphic works, some of the background that you need to understand about WhatsApp two-way communication and Glyphic. I'll also be, since we have the permission to show one of the NGOs how they're using Glyphic, so I'll just show their use case. I'll also show some of the, and through that I'll show you the in-depth features, how you can use it, and then we'll move into the Q&A and next steps in onboarding, how that can happen. All right. So let me begin by quickly covering why Glyphic. So one day, an NGO that had built a huge community of beneficiaries questioned themselves, like how could they conduct online programs and keep their programs going using digital communication mediums with lesser people, um, especially with COVID and everything that hit. They questioned how they could increase, reach from a few hundred beneficiaries to thousands of beneficiaries, because using some of the manual methods and the existing tools, it was sort of easier to handle conversations with a few hundred people, but then scaling it to tens and hundreds of thousands of beneficiaries, that gets a bit of a challenge. How do they respond to all the queries, and how do they account for all the conversations with each of the beneficiaries? How do they personalize it? um, and how do they make sure that the beneficiaries in that was spread across a lot of the regions with various languages, how were they all covered, and how could they analyze the impact of their conversations, which is where and since there are so many platforms out there for social impact these days, but we realized there was not much for something as basic as conversations, which is where Glyphic comes in the picture. And Glyphic, together with NGOs, gives them the power to send automated messages, to communicate at a large scale with the beneficiaries, to gather data for and generate reports for monitoring and evaluation. How could they onboard their team and give them relevant access, at staff level, at admin level, or manager level, to conduct various functions, of communicating with their beneficiaries. And how could they make the conversations much more engaging? With WhatsApp, they could use language support and send rich media, but how do they do that at scale, and how could they make the conversations much more engaging? uh, and with Glyphic, they could reach out to the beneficiaries and stakeholders, and this is what it sort of looks like, where you can send and receive messages with your beneficiaries at a large scale. Now, while this is all about why and what kind of problems it solves at a high level, I think organizations are, and I'll talk about some of the features, but organizations are free to like think creatively how they can employ it for their programs. But before they begin, there are just some basic setup areas as well that I'll quickly cover in the next few slides. For example, a basic setup for Glyphic requires you to have a Facebook Business Manager verification. Since WhatsApp Business API and all of the communication, is under Facebook now, so there's a central, verification that needs to happen at the Facebook end. And then Gupshup, being the WhatsApp Business API service provider, you need an account on Gupshup um, uh, to start sending the messages. And then finally, Tides comes into the picture to provide you the SaaS and Glyphic consulting services, to get you started, hosted, and to get you up and running, basically. So, and let me cover a bit in the detail. So, with Facebook verification, this is how your business manager sort of looks like. And once you go into the security center, you will see that your business has been verified. This is the indication that you can move forward with the next steps. We have also created support documents that can help you through each step of the way to get the Facebook verification done, since this is the most crucial step to get started. And the duration that Facebook suggests is basically 3 to 7 days, because there's some document submission and all of that needs to happen. So it takes generally 3 to 7 days to set this to get this going. After Facebook verification, you basically also need a number with your organization number with which all the messages will be sent to the beneficiaries. So there's just one number as per the program that you want to run, and this is for Gupshup account. Now Gupshup wants you to either get a new number or get a number that has not been used for at least 1 week. And once you have this number, you can just go into the Gupshup interface. Creating an account is a very simple process. Once this is done, you just need to share with us, the API keys, app name, and a few other details. And again, we have support document for creating your Gupshup account as well, so that the process is very smooth. Duration again is Gupshup says 2 to 7 days, but that's because if something goes amiss, more or less it takes within it happens within a day. You can set up your Gupshup account. And why Facebook is needed before? Because Gupshup verifies your Facebook Business Manager and a lot of that. So there's a sync between the two. Once these two essential steps are done, basically getting you started on Glific is a matter of few hours process, and you will be able to use it at this URL. This will be specific to each NGO. So we generate that, we share it with you, and you can begin using it. So this is a broad setup workflow into Glific. Once you're set up, you can also do these additional integrations with platforms such as Google BigQuery, Google Cloud Data Storage, and DataStudio. So BigQuery helps you collect the data points. DataStudio helps you generate graphs and charts, and Google Cloud helps you, share images, videos, and a lot of media management, and share it with the beneficiaries. But this is additional step. It's not something that's prerequisite or mandatorily required the first step. But as you go along, you can do these. Okay, once that is done, I think an important aspect to cover is the pricing. So there are two components to pricing. One is the hosting and the SaaS aspect of it, and Tides is the Glific consulting service. We offer in the range of 7,500 per month, and this covers more or less the operational charges to make the platform much more self-sustainable, as self-sustainable as possible. And this 7,500 is also for the first 25 to 50,000 messages, but we expect that this will be sufficient for a lot of NGOs piloting and exploring it in the beginning. But as the users scale, the support and this infrastructure also increases. So that's where it may vary, and we are still working on that pricing. But for now, I think this is a good number for you to estimate if you would like. And the second component is the Gupshup or the message provider pricing. And within this, there's a per session message and per template message. Now, a quick explanation of what this is. So WhatsApp Business API basically has a service window that if users send you a message, then you can respond to them within 24 hours. And when you respond to them within the 24 hours, it's counted as a session message, which costs you way less. Once that window is expired, then to renew that conversation or to send the nudge message, it charges 38 paisa per message. So these are the two components of Glific, and Glific, of course, is open source. So there's no other setup or any other hidden fee with this. So, for example, let's say if your NGO is in touch with 1,000 beneficiaries, sending and receiving 40 session messages and 10 nudge messages, then your cost will be around, this is only for the messages, and total cost will be this plus the 7,500. We are also working with WhatsApp business service providers to find much more reasonable price for messaging, and we've been able to work out some decent arrangement, but it's still in the stages of discussion, and we'd like to offer or bring a lot of value to NGOs and reduce the cost as much as possible. Um, Okay. That was all about pricing. Now let's have a quick overview of the features. Now Glyphic supports multiple languages, like I earlier mentioned. You have complete access to all the data that you collect on the platform. You can send and receive rich media, and you have the option to use SaaS or host it yourself. Of course, you don't need any prior technical or coding skills at all. We are building the platform with a lot of NGO advisory who have been guiding us along the way to make it as intuitive as possible, uh, uh, with the use and with the features as well. Like we're really putting our thinking hats on in terms of what features will help NGOs and only build the relevant ones. And for the past a month or so, we've been working closely with the NGOs who we have onboarded uh, to strengthen the product even further, to like fine tune it, and we've reached a much more stable state. Um, and for the cons, WhatsApp Business API does not support, and Glyphic as a result does not support SMS and IVR, and there is no group functionality with this system, like you would normally do it with with a group of friends or family. Um, Now let's move into the use case. Let's see how Glyphic is being used by India Literacy Project. Um, okay. Cool. So when ILP began using, I hope my screen is still visible. And when ILP began using the platform, we urged them to think about what the use case really is going to be, and how they think they could plan the chatbot, they could plan their communication flows, and they did a very good job of mapping out how they want to interact with beneficiaries across different states, on different languages, and their entire flow. So it looks slightly heavy, but yeah, their user base is huge, and their expanse of supporting beneficiaries as per the different career guidance is quite vast, which is where it was really essential for us to know exactly how it's going to be, so that moving from here to the platform will become really really easy, and it did. um, yeah, so I think taking a key point from here, I would recommend a lot of the NGOs to think creatively how they would like to, automate their conversations, how what kind of conversations they would like to automate. I'll cover it again a bit later, but yes, this is what ILP came up with, and then they moved into, actually building it into the platform. And as you can see, they did a test run with all of these contacts who tried out, the flows that they had set up. You can see that, okay, various languages are also um, being used for the communication. Let me go a little bit more deeper into how they had set up the flows. So from the use case to actually, building it. Now, in Glyphic, there is a feature called flows, which helps you create those automated conversations, and it looks something like this. So the flow begins by users sending a message, and then this is the first message that your bot responds automatically based on their either it's their message or a keyword that they would send. Okay. And then the flow will sort of begin, in a back and forth manner, like any conversation, even in real life experience. That once the beneficiary says, let's say, "Hey," then what would the bot say? And after that, what you anticipate the user will say, and then what the bot will say. So it just runs in this back and forth loop, And the two main things to note here are send message, which is what the bot sends from the system to beneficiary, and wait for response, which is where the processing of what the user is responding is happening. So let's take a look at this example itself. Um, the first message that ILP sends is welcome to career guidance. Type 1 for option 1, type 2 for option 2, and similarly they have 5 to 7 options, and they say okay. So once the beneficiary gets this message, we also set up, or ILP had also set up, how to read these. So if user said sends 1, they categorize it as okay, I want to save or read this as courses, or indicate their option as courses. Option 2 is Holland, which they had also mentioned in that message. So all of this is prepared here, and based on based on the response of the user, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we send them different messages. So like here it sends them to another flow, but this flow is also a collection of sending and receiving a message. So just for a quick view, I'll show you even in the Holland code. So they're sending this message, and then again they have a bunch of responses, right? So I hope that made sense. It's sending a message, then waiting for a response. Based on user's response, you guide them through different messages and flows. Now there are a few things that you can do in between these actions, which you see here as add labels. Now, if beneficiary says 1 courses, then what you want to do is basically save this as a data point. Like, because later on you might want to, for your monitoring and evaluation, understand how many people selected courses, or how many people selected careers and jobs, and within careers jobs, how many people selected career choice A versus career choice B, and so on and so forth. So for that, you add a label to this option, which is why it's between wait for response and sending the next message. So label got added, and then the user got sent the next message. But this is like it's not, yeah, it's a very fast process. So adding this label will help you collect these data points and show them on BigQuery, and then plot them on DataStudio. I mean, again, I'm trying to cover a lot of things here. So if there is anything you would like to understand more in detail, please feel free to write to us separately to understand these. And you can also try out our test account to experience it yourself. Now, I mentioned earlier that they could also plan the messages in various languages, and this is how it works. So right now this is default English, but if I go into Urdu, you can see how the flow changes to show all the messages in Urdu language, or if I select Hindi, it shows Hindi. So based on the user's responses, it automatically sends language as per their language preference, and you can set any number of languages you'd like. Okay, so that was all about setting up automated flows. And let me also, so we have a really helpful and cool feature, which is the simulator itself. Now, let's say you planned a conversation flow, and before you actually publish it out to users, right? You want to try it out yourself. Does it work the way I had planned it? Are there any gaps or any conversation, what do you call, dead ends that you want to resolve? So you can easily, like here in the simulator, you can send a message from here, say hi, and that gets shown here. So it replicates the same conversation that it would do with any beneficiary. So that's why we've named it as beneficiary here. Okay. Right. So you can test out all of your conversations. You can test out the flows. So let's say you start a flow and you select, let's say you want to test out a particular flow that you had just created. You start it, and okay. So it looks like there is some glitch here, but no worries. I mean, it triggers the message just as it did here. So let's say if I continue this conversation, type message in English, you can see how automated conversation is happening. Yeah, like that. And if I send Abhishek, it will send me again another message. Cool. So this way, I mean, you can handle conversations at a large scale. Now, this was all about setting up chatbot and the conversation flows. There are a few really useful features again to help you scale conversations, which one of them is speed sends. So what speed sends does is, let's say you have a message that you don't want to type out again and again, you can store it in the message, and you can just go over across the chat. Whoever is managing the conversation, they can click here, they can, okay, let me go to, yeah, this one itself. So you can just click on speed send. You can search for all the messages that you had saved here under speed sends, um, and you can just click on that and send it across without having to type that message again and again. So that's one feature. We've also, one of the advanced features is also collections, which enables you to do advanced search. So if I select here, you can search the conversations based on, let's say, a name, tag, keyword, and then you can also include which conversations have those bunch of tags. So if you want to select help and important, it will give you all the conversation results that were tagged with this. Are they present in a in a group or not? Is some staff handling it? So all of these parameters, and does it belong to a date range? Do you want to check the messages that came in this December? And then it gives you a list of the collections. And then you can also save it so that with one click of a button, you can pull that list again. Hey Lobo, I mean, just feel free to stop me if I'm going over the time and section. I'll keep moving forward meanwhile.
Can you just explain the speed sense feature a bit slower? Can you just explain
Yeah.
it again?
Okay, yeah. So let me actually show you. So let's say there is a message I want to send follow up. And I'll just give you a small example, but this message can be as long as you'd like quickly wanted to check if you're doing okay, right? And then, okay, so this is a text message and I save it. Yeah, again, the word count can be as long as you'd like. For demonstration, I just selected a very short message. So now, if there are hundreds of conversations and you want to send that message really quickly, then let me just quickly load this. Then you can just select it here and send. So you don't need to type it, over and over to send it to multiple, because, and I can give you a real use case. Let's say if your parents are asking how you can get admission, how they can get their students admission to a school, and there is a, let's say, process of 5 steps, and you're getting that again and again. So either you can set it, of course, as a automated conversation, that if they trigger a keyword, it if they send a keyword, it gets triggered. Otherwise, for manual process also, you can just go to SpeedSend, select that really long message, and then hit enter. And then you can go across the chat list to keep sending that message to as many people as you'd like. Yeah. I hope I covered it. If you have any follow-up questions, please feel free to let me know. Okay, I'll move forward then. So we also have, again, to scale your conversation, do it with a lot of people at once. We have something called groups. Now, again, this is not the best terminology, we think, because it is not the same, one-to-many group, but it's like a collection of or a batch of conversations. So let's say all of your beneficiaries who belong to Tamil Nadu get, are shown here. So right now there's nobody here, but you can see a list of all the contacts under this group, and you can assign this group to a staff member. Like here, Saraswati has been added, and you can assign it to anybody from your team member and save it. Which means that with limited access, if you give them limited access, then this person will only be able to see the contacts of that group and only chat with them, and none of the other features will be visible to them. And that's the access level. If you want to add somebody to this group manually, you can easily do it, from here or even from the chat window. If you want to send them a message, you can just click on send message, and this sends the message to all the members of the group, provided their service window is open, their 24-hour session window is open, or if you're sending a template, then they should have been opted in. So you can send all of them the message at once if you want. And you can create as many groups as you'd like. Adding people to groups is also like I've shown you manual method, but you can easily do it, in automated manner as well. Like if you're creating a flow, let's say this one, right? Okay, let's quickly go into the career. After each conversation, you can basically create a node, and then here you can go in and say add the contact to a group. And once you click OK, I won't change anything here. And as soon as you click OK, then that person, if they're taking this particular flow, they get automatically added to that group. So that's the automated part. Now let me quickly show you the staff management as well. I mentioned that you can assign a give person any role or limited access to the features. This is where it's happening. So let's say a team member gets added here, and then you can give them a role, admin, manager, or staff, and you can see what the access means. So admin means complete access to the platform. Manager means they have limited like settings, but they can't manage the staff. Staff can only access the chat. So platform, we've tried to make it as explanatory as possible. But yeah, you can add as many team members as you'd like as well. Excuse me. Yeah, I think these are some of the basic features that we'd like the NGOs to begin with, but there are a lot of advanced features as well that we can cover, maybe in the next webinars or individually once NGOs get used to this quite a bit. Yeah, so that's all. Let me move on to the next section. Okay, so starting with Glific, again, like I mentioned, to begin with Glific, I think it's really helpful, and you can make the most of the platform if you only try to create a document in the beginning. Like a simple DIY exercise could be, what does the beneficiary first say and what you want your NGO to say, and then just anticipate a conversation that would happen with thousands of beneficiaries, and you can just create a document like ILP did. And a lot of NGOs are, doing it at the beginning. So once you have a clarity of how you're actually going to use the platform, then using it with tech solutions becomes really, really easy. So it's the process that we need to figure out. That's what we urge you to do. And second step could be, you can try out the conversations with, let's say, just take 20 to 30 beneficiaries and test it on ground. Like have conversations with them manually, try to understand what kind of questions do they ask. And I'm sure you might have a lot of the idea of this already because you're serving them, but you can actually try it out on WhatsApp. Like how is the conversation changing from doing it one-to-one manually in physical space to using a tool, right? So that will give you a lot of idea and help you prepare for the conversations. So observe how beneficiaries are responding to the conversations, and then it can be set up and scaled really easily on Glific. Yeah, I think this is just an example of, identifying what messages you want the chatbot to handle, what are the common queries your beneficiaries are asking, and then prepare for them. You can share this communication plan with us for people who are doing it new or people who have done it before, and we can take it from there for your setup. Okay, let's move into the next segment. We're also coming up with some new features. Two primary ones are how you manage your HSM templates and scheduling messages. So HSM templates allow you to basically send a message to a beneficiary after that 24-hour session window, and you can also use buttons and quick replies here, like you can see here in as an example. And we've been building a support and management interface on Glyfic, so that once you get your messages approved on Gupshup, you can easily save it here and then use it in your day-to-day interaction. So that's one thing we are coming up with. And the second is scheduling messages. So these are just, to give you an idea. We are still designing and developing it. But you had created a flow, let's say a quarantine flow. You can schedule it to trigger at a particular time, day, or let's say if it repeats every Friday at a particular time, that. And you can also, with the flow, create um, a step-by-step process, like after the first message or the flow, second flow gets triggered 1 day after that, or 2 days after that, or or a few hours after that. So you can plan the messages like that as well, which is what we are calling scheduling messages. And this can happen all within the flow interface that I showed you earlier. And this is just for representation. The actual interface might not look like this. So yeah, these are two, again, some of the advanced features that we're building into Glyfic in the upcoming weeks. Yeah, I think these are pretty much all the things that we wanted to share about the features, about how you use it. We can move into the Q&A round, and if anybody has questions, we can just open the floor for that.
Abhishek, can you just show people a bit more on how conversations are initiated and just the flow of conversations between the NGO and the beneficiary?
Okay, okay, I'll do that.
We also kind of explain the difference between HSM and session templates, maybe again.
Okay. So, initiating a conversation, basically conversation, there are, once you set up your Gupshup account, you have a couple of opt-in options, because WhatsApp for Business API, it doesn't allow you to send the message first. Like it wants the beneficiaries or whoever is using WhatsApp Business or the users to send the message to initiate the conversations, which is why there are a few opt-in methods. Like once you create a Gupshup account, you will have an opt-in URL. Um, yeah, an opt-in URL, or they can save your number in the phone and initiate a conversation by sending the first message. Then there's QR code, and yeah, there are a bunch of methods that you could use. To share your number. Once they send you the number, then they get shown here in this contact list, and you can have the conversation with them. Lobo, what was the other part of your question? Second part. Could you repeat that for me?
Yeah, hang on a minute. How does an NGO start a new conversation from their end?
Okay. Okay, so once a beneficiary begins the conversation, because that's the first step, after that you can send a message from your end, using multiple messages. Like you can manually send a message by typing in. You can begin a flow for them. Like this person, this contact isn't hasn't opted into you, so you will not be able to message with them, chat with them after 24 hours. But if they are opted in, like this person, you can send them a template message again to reinitiate the conversation. So from your end, you have the ability to send the messages once they are opted in and they are having an active conversation with you. Uh, yeah, and you can send messages like it, it could be an individual message, or you could start them on a conversation flow as well. And once they are out of like this 24-hour session window, then you can only send a template message to initiate that conversation. Um, yeah. Anything else you would like to add to this, Lobo, or anybody else from the Glyfic team to this answer?
No, Abhishek, it's all yours.
Okay, cool. Um,
Uh, Abhishek, one
yeah.
question,
Yes.
if I may. My name is Prachi.
Okay,
Yeah.
Prachi.
So we have heard that it's quite a challenge to get the templates approved from WhatsApp, and there has to be a specific way in which you do it and figure it out. So would there be some support from your team when we start on this?
Yeah, we can support when you start. Also, like Gupshup has created quite a well documented, a document for what are the guidelines and how you can get the messages approved. So that is also pretty helpful, and it's quite upfront that this is the domain and this is how you do it. But yes, we'll be
Okay.
happy to help if it comes to that.
Okay. Okay. And second question is, so we are not, just for our clarity, we are not using the Gupshup platform, but Gupshup is an interface which is connecting the Glyphic solution with Facebook, essentially, right?
Yes, so Gupshup is so WhatsApp hasn't made the WhatsApp Business API like available for all the businesses.
Right.
Can't everybody can't use it. So there are a few organizations, middlemen you could say, who are providing and the support for that. So yes, Gupshup is helping us connect WhatsApp use beneficiaries WhatsApp and Glyphic.
Okay. So there is no, so there is no commercials associated with Gupshup for us because their pricing is very different, and hence we wanted to double check.
No, actually there is. So when you even when you use Glyphic, if I got your question right, even when you use Glyphic, there are two components to pricing. One is of course
Right.
hosting, and the second is the messages, which goes directly to the cup shop.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but Paki, Gupshup actually, if you talk to a salesperson at Gupshup, the pricing that they quote you is very different. Gupshup has got
Right.
a service model.
Yeah.
The NGOs to go join the self-service model, and that's when each session message costs 7 paise, and each HSM costs 38 paise, right? And so those are your Gupshup charges. Whereas if you go with a sales agent, they'll tell you like, hey, for 25,000 rupees a month, we'll give you all this and 300,000 free messages, etc.
Right. 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 Yeah.
Don't go through the sales agent. You just want to sign up with a Gupshup online.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And coming back to the previous question about the WhatsApp approval, I think that used to be true once upon a time where just getting approval used to be a long drawn out process and it was a very random process.
Oh,
Today it's still a wee bit random, but I think as well WhatsApp has scaled that part of the operations to a fairly nice manner where it's a bit more deterministic, and as long as you're not putting any marketing material or any salesy material in your HSMs, approvals are fairly easy.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that was what we had heard exactly as you said that it's quite random. So, right.
Yeah.
Got it.
But I think over a period of time, it's getting better and better. I think they're learning how to do it with volume now.
yeah, yeah. Awesome.
Abhishek, if I'll let others ask. I hope. I just wanted to have a bit of insight into how would BigQuery and at least with cloud, I understood how it would be used, but how would BigQuery and DataStudio be used? I mean, I understand it's additional, but how would one
Okay, I'll just
think
quickly
of
show
using?
you a report that we had, a sample report that we had created. How it would be used basically, like I had showed you the labels. So primarily that will serve as the data points that will feed into your reports. Like, you can see the number of active contacts on a particular day, how many people messaged you, or these graphs like number of contacts who requested for poetry activity, and based on feedback, how many people said boring. So you, based on their responses, you say, okay, this person said boring, and I label them as boring. And when you do that, we pick up, that as a data point and plot it here. And does that make sense? Does that answer your
Yeah.
question?
Yeah.
Okay, and yeah, you can completely customize these reports as per your, as per the data points that you want to generate for your organization. Like if you want to see number of people accessing English versus Hindi, or on different age groups, you can do that. And this is all sample data. So yeah,
Right.
cool. Anything else? Anybody else wants to ask? Or if you want, and Prachi, for BigQuery, that is only to get the data points, and this is more for plotting. I mean, if I explain it in the simplest terms.
Visualization.
Yeah, visualization. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Yeah.
Okay. Lobo, do we have any other questions?
Could we save the responses of users? Say, save the custom fields.
Um, and what would be the use case? Like, how would you want to save it, and how would you like to use that?
Like a survey, Abhishek, think of the stir survey case.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Address it that.
Yeah, I think let me just see if we have the flow here. But you can ask or send them a short survey and get their responses and save them too. Okay, I think we don't have it here. Cool. So, but yeah, that is possible. So you can ask them, like, here you ask them their name and you save them and updated the contact with their name. Similarly, you can ask them, like, which club do you want to be a part of, if that is the use case. And then you can, save that club name for that contact and generate that profile, so to say, and save that data point for that contact. You can do that.
Yeah. So Visalakshi, you can save information both in the contact table, and you can also save information for each flow. So like when you're doing quizzes and everything, because you're kind of doing multiple quizzes or quizzes of the same time at different points in time, you really you don't want to store that in the contact, primarily because you're then just going to override their previous answers. So you save them as part of the flow. And so then you have the answers that each beneficiary gave you at different points in time. Abhishek, is the Glific platform accessible over the phone? Are
Yes.
the features Google Studio, BigQuery, etc. chargeable or free features by Google?
BigQuery is chargeable. Yeah, and it's pay per use. So it's the amount of data that you collect, and it's based on your usage, and they have different pricing for that. So BigQuery will, yeah,
But they also pay, I think, the first 30,000 rupees per month free. So
yeah,
there's a pretty generous free tier to begin with
yeah,
uh, that you can use. And DataStudio is completely free.
yeah,
With regard to the Glyphic platform accessible over the phone, the way the platform has been designed, it's supposed to be mobile friendly.
yeah.
But to be honest, we haven't really spent too much time on it to make it super friendly and super easy to use over the phone. But that's on our to-do list, and I suspect we'll get to it early next year.
Yeah, we've laid the foundation for mobile friendly, and we just need to tweak and make sure that it appears well. Okay. Okay. Anything else, Lo? Do you have any other questions?
Just checking.
Yeah, and you can feel free to like unmute and ask questions as well.
Cool, Abhishek. I think that was it for with regard to questions.
Okay. Okay.
Want to end?
Sorry, did you say something? I think I missed.
I want to end the call. I want to kind of conclude.
Yeah, yeah. I think yeah. Thank you all for your questions and for taking time out for the webinar. If you have any other questions, you can just write to us at info@glific.org, or just ping us, wherever you see us. So I will be happy to answer any of your questions based on your use case or the platform and anything. Cool. I think thank you all, and we can end the call
Thanks,
now.
everyone.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Good night or good morning, wherever you are.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Yeah.